Think about the hardest working person you know. Maybe it's your parent. Maybe it's a colleague who's always first in, last out. Maybe it's you. Now ask yourself this: are they wealthy? Not comfortable, not getting by, wealthy. Chances are the answer is no. And that creates a strange contradiction, doesn't it? Because we're told from childhood that hard work is the path to success. Study hard, work hard, save money, and you'll be fine. The American dream, the European work ethic, all of it built on this one idea: effort equals reward. But if you look around, really look, you'll notice something unsettling. Some of the hardest working people are barely scraping by, and some of the wealthiest people you can think of don't seem to be working that hard at all. So what's actually happening here? Today, I want to show you something that changed the way I think about work and money entirely. Not a motivational speech, not a side hustle pitch, just a pattern that, once you see it, explains almost everything about why hard work alone will never make you rich. Let me introduce you to James. He's 32 years old. He lives outside Philadelphia. He works in IT support for a mid-sized company. He's good at his job. He shows up on time. He stays late when needed. He solves problems. He's exactly the kind of employee companies say they want. James makes $72,000 a year. That's more than most people his age. He should be doing well. Here's what his life actually looks like. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, and Medicare, James takes home about $4,500 a month. His mortgage on a small 3-bedroom house in the suburbs is $1,850. Property taxes add another $280 a month. Home insurance is $95. His car payment is $380 for a Ford Escape he bought 2 years ago. Car insurance is $145. Gas to commute, about $200 a month. We're at $2,950, and we haven't fed him yet. Student loans, $290 a month. He went to a state school for a 4-year degree in information systems. Groceries for him and his wife, about $550. Utilities, $160. 2 cell phones, $120. Internet, $70. Health insurance through his employer still costs him $220 a month after the company contribution. Streaming services, $40. Gym membership for both of them, $80. Now we're at $4,480. He has $20 left for the month. But wait, the car needs an oil change. His wife needs new work shoes. They want to go out to dinner once. A friend is getting married next month and they need to buy a gift. The washing machine is making a weird noise. You see where this is going. James works hard, 45, sometimes 50 hours a week. He's skilled, he's reliable, he does everything right. And at the end of every month, there's nothing left, sometimes less than nothing. Now, here's the part most people never calculate. James has been working full-time for 10 years. 10 years of showing up, solving problems, doing good work. In that time, he's earned roughly $620,000 in gross income. Over $500,000 has passed through his hands. And his net worth? About $35,000. Most of that is home equity he hasn't actually realized yet. So where did the other $585,000 go? It went to living, to rent, then mortgage, to car payments, to student loans, to groceries and insurance and utilities, and all the things you need to survive and participate in modern society. It went to taxes. It went to interest on debt. Here's the critical thing to understand. James traded his time for money, and then he traded that money for survival. There was no money left over to buy assets, no money left over to invest, no money left over to compound. He worked hard for 10 years, and he's essentially in the same financial position he was at 22. Actually, he's in a slightly worse position because now he has a mortgage and he's 10 years older. Let me show you why this matters in numbers you can see. If James had been able to save and invest just $400 a month over those 10 years at a 7% average return, he'd have about $70,000 right now. If he continues that for another 20 years until he's 52, that grows to over $420,000. That's real wealth. That's optionality. That's freedom. But he never had $400 a month to invest because every dollar he earned was already spoken for. So why does this happen? Why can someone work hard for a decade and have almost nothing to show for it? The answer is uncomfortable, because hard work by itself only generates linear income. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. You work more hours, you get paid for more hours. But there's a ceiling. There are only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much your employer will pay you per hour. This is called trading time for money, and it's how most of the economy works. The system is designed this way. Companies need workers, workers need income. So you trade your time and skills for a salary. That's the deal. And for most people, it's the only deal they ever make. But here's what they don't tell you. The people who become wealthy aren't working harder. They're working differently. They've stopped trading time for money, or they've minimized it. Instead, they've shifted to owning things that generate income without their direct time input. Real estate that appreciates and generates rent, businesses that operate with employees, investment portfolios that compound, intellectual property that pays royalties, equity in companies. These are called assets, and assets have a special property. They can make money while you sleep. James doesn't own assets. He owns a car that depreciates. He owns a house with a mortgage, which is partly an asset and partly a liability. He owns almost nothing that generates income without his active involvement. So no matter how hard he works, he's stuck on a treadmill. Running faster just means he's tired. It doesn't mean he's getting anywhere. Now, let's talk about why this is so hard to see when you're inside it. There's a concept in psychology called the effort justification effect. Basically, when we work hard for something, we convince ourselves it's valuable. We tell ourselves the struggle is worth it. We have to, because otherwise we'd have to confront the possibility that we're on the wrong path entirely. James believes that if he just keeps working hard, keeps being reliable, keeps doing good work, eventually he'll be rewarded. Maybe a promotion, maybe a raise, maybe something will change. And sometimes it does. He might get a 4% raise next year. That's an extra $240 before taxes, maybe $170 after taxes. That helps, but it doesn't fundamentally change anything, because his expenses will grow too. The mortgage will adjust. Inflation will push grocery costs up. The car will need to be replaced eventually. He's still trading time for money, just at a slightly higher rate. Here's the other psychological factor: visibility bias. James sees his coworkers doing the same thing. He sees his neighbors doing the same thing. He sees people on social media doing the same thing. So it feels normal. It feels like this is just how life works. What he doesn't see is the person who worked hard for 5 years, lived extremely below their means, invested the difference, and then used that compounding base to take risks, to start a business, to buy rental property, to build something that generates income independently. Those people exist, but they're not posting about it in the early years. They're invisible until they're not, and by the time they're visible, the narrative becomes they got lucky or they had connections, because the years of intentional sacrifice and different thinking are hidden from view. Let me show you what the alternative looks like using the same starting point. Imagine another person, let's call her Maria. Same age as James, same degree, same starting salary at 22. But Maria makes a different set of choices. Instead of buying a house at 28, she rents a smaller apartment and keeps her housing cost at $1,100 a month. Instead of financing a $25,000 car, she buys a $6,000 used Honda with cash. She keeps her phone for 4 years instead of 2. She doesn't have streaming services she barely uses. She cooks almost every meal. This isn't deprivation, this is intentionality, and it frees up about $800 a month compared to James. Maria invests that $800 every single month into a simple index fund. She doesn't try to pick stocks, she doesn't time the market, she just invests consistently. After 10 years, that $800 has turned into roughly $140,000. And here's where it gets interesting. That $140,000 is now generating about $9,800 a year in returns on its own, assuming a conservative 7% growth rate. That's $816 a month that she didn't have to work for. So now Maria has a choice. She can keep her job and let that money compound further, or she can take a risk, start a business, go part-time and pursue something meaningful, move to a lower cost of living area and semi-retire. She has options. James doesn't. And it's not because Maria worked harder. She probably worked the same amount, maybe even less, because she wasn't stressed about money. It's because she understood that hard work is necessary, but not sufficient. You also have to direct your money towards assets, not expenses. So I know what some of you are thinking. This is easy to say, but I can't save $800 a month. I'm already stretched.
And I believe you. The scenario I described with James is real for millions of people. The cost of living in many cities has outpaced wage growth. Housing is expensive. Healthcare is expensive. Childcare is expensive. Student loans are real. I'm not here to tell you it's easy. I'm here to tell you what's true. The truth is, if you're only trading time for money and all of that money goes to expenses, you will never build wealth. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how skilled you are. The math doesn't work. So what can you actually do? You have to make a choice. Either you reduce your expenses below your income and invest the difference, or you find a way to generate income that isn't directly tied to your time. Ideally, both. That might mean living somewhere cheaper for a few years. It might mean driving a worse car. It might mean saying no to things your peers are saying yes to. It's not glamorous, but it's the only path that actually leads somewhere different. Or you find a way to own something. A side business, freelance work that can scale, equity in a startup, rental property, something where your effort can compound beyond the hours you put in. Hard work is the foundation, but it's not the building. The building is ownership. The building is assets. The building is making your money work as hard as you do. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The game is designed so that hard work alone keeps you stable, not wealthy. It keeps you employed. It keeps you paying your bills. It keeps you participating in the economy as a consumer. But it doesn't make you rich. Rich people work hard too, often. But they work hard on things they own. They work hard building equity. They work hard in ways that compound. If you're trading time for money and spending all of that money on living, you're not on a path to wealth. You're on a path to a paycheck-to-paycheck existence that might be comfortable, but will never be free. And that's not a moral judgment, it's just math. The moment you see this clearly, without guilt or shame, you can start making different choices. Not easy choices, but choices that actually lead somewhere. You can keep working hard, but make sure some of that work is building something that works for you. If this changed how you think about work and money, consider subscribing. I break down these patterns every day, clearly, calmly. No hype, just reality. Thanks for watching.
I break down these patterns every week. Clearly, calmly, no hype. Just reality.